or did I just want to, do what I came here to do? So I think for the first few months, maybe like the first 4 to 6 months, I really struggled with like finding my footing, finding my voice, finding my people. It was just hard for me to integrate into a system, especially because where I come from, we're taught to, excel, we're taught to stand out. I feel like I was trying to stand out in in a group of people that were already shining. So I feel like there was no place for me. But I think over time I gave myself grace to just kind of go through the norms, feel out what I like, just live each day as it came. That was a strategy that I took to kind of just navigate that period.
Thank you for that. And it's saying a lot because I met Shaneika when maybe like a month into when she moved to St. Mary's and she was running for the visa board and I was like, what? Then you just came? But
Listen, I went full dive in. Would I recommend that? Maybe, if it works, was I feel like I was drowning at some point? For sure, but I managed. Like, it's just a matter of just taking it one day at a time, literally. Don't overthink. Just go with it as it comes.
and you made your mark from day one, so very proud of you. Next up, Tracy.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you for joining us. I think one major challenge that I faced, and I will give a trigger warning of sexual assault, just some mentions of it, as well as mental health. I unfortunately got here 2019 August, and less than a month, I was sexually assaulted on campus. So the challenges that I faced having to start all over again with the few friends that I had was definitely a huge turning step for me, because obviously you're so excited to come to a country, and then less than a month in, you have something so huge happen to you. And then after all this, I was later on diagnosed with complex PTSD and panic disorder. But I say all this to let people know that your story as an international student is your journey. It is your story. And so many times international students, when they come on campus, because they're usually alone, they don't seek out support if something happens, or they don't know where to go to move forward. So whenever I think about something like that, that usually sometimes can happen to newer people who are in new countries, it's about really seeking out support. All these things that have been mentioned in my bio are great, but if I had not taken care of my mental health and not been able to prioritize my mental health during the year of 2020 and 2021, I would not have been able to achieve these things that I've achieved in 2022, 2023, and now 2024. So I think one of the biggest things I would tell people is, it might not be from an assault, God forbid, but you could be facing a lot of loneliness. We have international students who come and they face depression, that separation anxiety, maybe if you've been with your family the whole time. Prioritizing your mental health makes it a little bit easier for you to face this new world that is here, because as international student, there's so many things that you might face, from like housing discrimination all the way to school as well. But being able to prioritize your mental health, because I know sometimes from the countries that we are from, they might not be talked about a lot, but I always try to tell international students, because sometimes there's a lot of stigma. Your mental health is definitely the biggest thing. So I would say that's how I was able to overcome those challenges that I had in my first 2-3 years here, was really prioritizing my mental health.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that with us. And Tracy and I in 2021, 2020, actually started a mental health podcast because of her advocacy for wanting more people to speak freely about mental health. And it speaks to the type of person that you are, because you didn't want people to suffer alone, and you were willing to put your voice out there. And I was happy to support you, and we could grow together and learn how to voice those issues that we might have seen as not so comfortable topics to speak about, and to see where you are today, it is a testament of the resilience and the strength of who you are. And yeah, be proud of you.
Thank you.
Ayebare, you're next.
Hi everyone. So one of the major challenges I faced, I feel like the first 2 years of uni was very long and there was a lot of different things, and I can relate to how people are answering because like there was just it felt like it was struggle after struggle, like different things. But I would say, I guess the main thing was I also struggled with self-identity. I feel like first year it's a thing of like self-identity, but for me, it was cultural identity. And because of that, I would say like the challenge was understanding my cultural identity, my story, and then also racial differences. So my first year of uni, I lived in residence. I lived on a basically mostly all white floor. I was someone who, so I come from Kenya. I come from an international school, but the majority of the school were Black students. So I didn't really have to, go into conversations about my identity and who I was. And then coming to that space, it was like consistently explaining like what my name is, where I'm from. I came here on a plane, not a ship, like just different things. It was very stressful. Like it would get to my mental a lot. Also, I think so first it was the aspect of like just having to explain myself, but I think also trying to figure out my story through the process because I'm Ghanaian, but I grew up in Kenya. So I already had a lot of a story when it comes to culture, and then having to explain to people who don't even understand the continent, if it makes sense. Like understand, yeah. So I think that was something for me. How I dealt with it. So the racial differences one, I learned to just be willing to educate. So just talking to the girls in my pod, just explain to them. And then I would also, I think almost anybody who knows me knows this about me. I'm a very like inquisitive person. Like I ask questions a lot. So instead of now being like argumentative about it, I'll just ask them questions. And I remember through that, one of the girls even just told me clean that we don't learn about like African history in school. So it's not like we're trying to like get at you or anything. We literally just don't know. So it just changed my perspective on a lot of things. So just being willing to educate. And then I would say later on to the friend group I had, just learning to have humor with it. So we used to play around. We used to have sorry. We used to play around. We used to have fun, just also having fun with our story and everything. So that was something that helped me in the process. But I feel like as Black people, we tend to sometimes just laugh at our pain. So I think that actually kind of started there. Like it was literally just us coping with it by just making jokes of the whole situation. But it would be mostly education. And then with the cultural side, it would be like finding a home away from home. So at first, I think I would look for, okay, Ghanaians, look for Kenyans. But later on, I realized that it was really just anybody who would remind me of home. So I would talk to people, and my social place was Dockside in San from St. Mary's. So Dockside, and yeah, it became like just a social place, like just finding people who I could talk to and I could relate on different aspects of home, how things are in my family would and how it relates to them. And from there, just feeling peace with it. And it allowed me to then later on be more confident in myself. So like I remember after COVID, I would say it as it is. I am a Ghanaian raised in Kenya. And if it bothers you that I don't pick one, then it's bothering you because I know my story. So it was really giving yourself grace and other people grace through all of it. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. I giggled a bit there because I remember some of the stories we used to come up with. I remember a time when, well, I think Abba had enough of the questions. And so she was a bit creative with the story and told a couple of people about the kingdoms that we came for and some of the cultures that queens and kings should be attributed to and bowing and how to curtsy. And it was a good laugh. Like at the end of the day, it made a good story. So I'm proud of you for beating that and being proud of all your identity. So yeah, Krystal, you're up next. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. It's so lovely to meet all of you. Thank you all for coming. So my story of maybe just some struggles I had when I came. So I came to Canada for my last years of high school. I did my beginning 4 years in Uganda, and I did my last 2 years here. And I went to a school that was a lot smaller. It was a predominantly white school. In my first semester, I was one of 4 Black students. And then in my final semester, I was the only Black student in high school. So having to go through just feeling like you're in a place that is not familiar, having grown up back home and seeing people who look like you all around, and then all of a sudden being thrown into a place where it's like you're the only one with this color. A lot of people don't necessarily understand you or can relate to some of the things you're sharing, and just feeling like you really do not understand the cultures and the perspectives of the people around you. It forced me to really lean on my support system. Luckily, I have my sisters here. One of them is on the meeting with us today. And it was definitely that support that really anchored me in being able to go through it, live every day, even if you go to school and it's just frustrating and just feeling like I don't want to be here, I would rather leave, and especially feeling like you're constantly watching the lives of the people you left back home continue to progress. It can be very detrimental on your mental health, but learning to give yourself grace, and I think allowing yourself to feel those emotions is important, as everyone has shared. Tracy shared with a mental health aspect. It's very important to take care of your mental health and lean on your support system. Another challenge I had was like the difference in course structure when you get to university. You're not used to like having labs, group projects, all these things, and then you're thrust into a system that is kind of trying to assimilate you, and you're also still trying to figure it out, and all the identity crisis that happens in first year. And so it was also part of that, like learning, being able to give yourself grace, being able to ask questions. I think that's one of the most important things, is seeking that support from your teachers, TAs. They're all there to help you and very willing, because again, very few people actually go ask for help from teachers and TAs. And so really learning to use that as an avenue of support, and just giving yourself, remembering why you're here, and like also giving yourself that avenue to just do your best, but also take care of yourself, have some fun, because life is also short. And yeah, so that's my training.
Thank you, Krystal. And yeah, it's taking care of yourself, and seeing a very common thread of remembering to give yourself grace and finding that support system. It is really crucial in overcoming these challenges. So thank you. Karen?
Good evening, everyone. I'm happy that you're all here and really enjoying listening to my fellow panelists about their stories and hearing the aspects in which I relate. So thanks for everyone for showing up. My context, I moved to Canada in grade 11, and I moved to St. John, New Brunswick, which is a very small town. And in my high school, I was one of 10 Black students out of 1,000 students in our school. And out of the 10 Black students, I was the only African student. And then fast forward to moving to Dalhousie for university, moving to Halifax, also very small Black population in the Faculty of Commerce at the time. And so one of the things I was constantly around was a lot of stereotypes, a lot of assumptions being made about me because I'm African. So I get lots of really random questions, ignorant questions, and then also being victim to racism and discrimination, remarks being said to me from teachers, from students, and the fact that it, at least at the time, this was over a decade ago, very normalized. And so there are no avenues to report racism and discrimination or even share. And quite often you'd be told, you're kind of making a big deal, you're just misunderstanding. They had good intentions, they didn't mean to be racist. And so getting that a lot of the time, seeing few examples of Black success, and constantly feeling at the detriment of discrimination to a point where you feel like, what is my self-worth, my identity? What does that mean for what I can achieve in life, for my outcomes, for my career progression? And so I kept getting that at the transition in high school, but also at university. But one of the things that I was very committed to doing was not letting ignorance of others be my responsibility, not personalizing folks' actions towards myself. Through therapy, I learned different tools and techniques. I don't let fear hold me back. I'm responsible for my life, my outcomes, my story. No matter what the greater social environment says about what it means to be an African woman, to be a Black woman, to be a newcomer, I'm in charge of my story. And so I find spaces where I can be myself, spaces that I can find rest and community. I put myself out there. I don't let those things hold me back from making friends, from socializing. And I guess the last thing that I would say has been a recurring theme for me from the start till even today is asking questions. The reality is, being new to a country, there is a lot of stuff that you don't know. You're going to learn a lot along the way. Even till today, there are lots of things that I find needing help with, or need some tips and tricks on how to navigate things. And so always ask questions. It's from the smallest things. Like, I mean, even now with trying to buy a car, navigating, how do you get car insurance? How do you shop for a car? How do you find an apartment? How do you get good deals on stuff? How do you, health insurance? How do you navigate things like that? I always say that it's going to be challenging being a newcomer in a new country, but it can be 10 times as hard or 2 times as hard, depending on how you're willing to put yourself out there, not, put everything on your head, get out there, talk to people, get tips, get tricks, get suggestions, and take what's around you to make this journey as easy as you can for yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I guess I'll maybe ask this later in the Q&A, but definitely asking questions I find was such a hard thing to get. It takes a while to get used to, because I don't know why a lot of us tend to just be like, I'll figure it out myself, or it'll come as I go. But that is a very powerful thing, and being able to ask a question and realizing that sometimes we do need help, and the resources are there. So thank you for that. Riana.
Hi guys. Okay. Hi guys, I'm Riana. Thanks to everybody for coming. So while I dealt with several different challenges here in university, I feel like the one that stands out to me the most, it was learning to separate myself from people that weren't aligned with my goals and priorities. And that does not mean that these are bad people, but goals show up in different people's life in different ways. So for instance, I remember being in first year, and the type of friends that I had around me were all about vibes. And I was all about vibes, like, what is an assignment? 5 minutes before class, I'll just be doing my assignment. So that stood out to me to this day, because it affected my entire university experience, because you want to start off strong, because for instance, if you mess up your GPA in first year, it's gonna mess up your whole university experience. So that was something that I struggled with, that level of accountability, trying to remember like why I'm here, or just, as I said, trying to separate myself from those that friend group that I was in. But it's funny too, because like the panelists said before, finding your footing is so hard, but at the same time, you have to be selective with the people that you hang around. So that can make it even more difficult, especially when you're Black in a society where majority of the students are not Black. So what you have to choose from is very small, and then you have to be selective on top of that. It can be challenging. So that was mainly my thing. So after a while, I had to sit down with myself and really remind myself why I'm here, and remind myself how far I'm coming from. As an international student, tuition is double everybody else's tuition. So you cannot mess up. You can't mess up. And like, so yeah, I had to really sit down with myself. I think what I had to do to bring myself back was create a plan, like a planner, and I created like what would you call it? I don't remember the term, but it's like I can't do this unless I do this. You know what I mean? So I cannot go out tonight if I didn't do the assignment that's due next week. So that was a process that I had to start. Sometimes holding myself accountable would look like talking to my mom, because my mom is like my rock. So once I call my mom, it's just like, okay, I know I'm here. I'm gonna, you know what I mean? So it was mainly that for me, as I said before. So yeah, that was pretty much it for me.
Thank you. And I think Missy put it in the group, the if and then kind of process where if I finish this, then I'll be able to do this. And that's really big because it's true. First year, it's really hard to hold yourself accountable, but it takes strength to be like, yo, I have to remember why I'm here, and putting yourself in that space of I've made it this far and this is not where my journey is going to stop is a big part of.
And you will feel like you're missing out sometimes if you're not out doing what your friends are doing, but you just have to be headstrong and you have to really try to mental blinkers.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And I think that's really, really, really good. And kind of leads into our next question, which is talking about building confidence in unfamiliar spaces. When adjusting to a new environment, whether you're a student or in the workplace, often involves encountering situations where the norms or expectations differ from what you're used to. Navigating these new surroundings requires finding your voice and establishing your presence. In those early days of navigating a new environment, how did you find your voice and assert your confidence in unfamiliar settings? And what impact did this have on your growth and journey? I think you all kind of tackled this, but now I'll go backwards and start with Riana, if you don't mind.
Oh my God, what a surprise. You surprised me there. Okay, who did I find my voice? I will start by saying I've always been a confident person. I feel like it's a culture thing. I'm not saying other cultures aren't, but my culture specifically, when you're from where I'm from, like we're mostly very confident people. And I also grew up in church. My aunt was a Sunday school teacher, so I was always involved in everything. I have to be doing everything. So I was always very confident. But coming into a different space, I think I kind of just started small. I went to smaller events, like maybe the Caribbean Society. I would like participate in smaller things before, because that can be scary, especially if it's different. You're seeing different people. It can be a bit intimidating. So start small. At least that's what I did, and try to start from in spaces with familiar places. If, like I said, the Caribbean Society, where it's mostly Caribbean people or people that looks like me, it's less intimidating, and it helps you to like slowly grow and get there. I would say also I think it's really good to try to make connections with your professors. It really helps. They will give you resources that you didn't know were there or exist, and that can really help. So pretty much that's what I did. I just tried to start small in familiar places and continue to grow from there. But as I said, I was always a confident person, so it wasn't very hard for me. It didn't take much, but yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And yes, it's true. You do give off a very confident aura from day one. So that is when
Yeah.
it's good to start small and build your way up there, even if you already feel like you are confident, but just, finding your place even in that strong spirit already.
Yeah.
Karen, don't mind going.
Yeah, sure. I would say for me, my confidence is built by building or testing my competence in something. So the more I do something, the more I try and get better at something, the more I feel confident. So I always find opportunities to learn, grow, to share, to explore my interests. My areas of strengths are places that I usually start to build my confidence in any area, whether that was at school or now in my career. I know my strengths, and I've explored that through just self-reflection, but also conversations with those around me. What are the things that people see? What are the themes about the ways that I show up? And what do people see in me that I can continue to explore and tap into? And so I start from there. And so I always go towards the hard thing, and I figure out the nerves and work backwards to the thing. And so an example, throughout my university time, case competitions, I signed up for every case competition there was in the Faculty of Commerce. I participated in about 8 competitions, to the point where my professor pulled me aside and said, okay, I think you've participated in every competition now. I'm going to have you on the planning committee in your 4th year so you can plan others. There's no point participating anymore. You've done all of them. And so that doesn't mean that I wasn't nervous, that I wasn't conscious of how I was appearing, of my knowledge, of at that time, my accent, how I was showing up. And so I signed up and I figured out the rest in between. I showed up and I did the hard thing. If they're looking for people to do a blog post, to do a video demo, to sit on a committee, I always volunteered. I waited. If nobody else put their hand up in the room, I did the awkward hand up and I volunteered for things. So I find those are the things that help me to kind of track my progress and see that I can actually achieve, that I can demonstrate my competence in the workplace. If they're always looking for somebody to host a panel, to lead a working group, I'm always volunteering to do these things, because it helps reinforce that I'm growing, that I'm learning, and that I can do better. And I always make sure to celebrate my wins, to reflect on my capabilities. I track the things that I do. And whenever I'm in a moment of, okay, I'm feeling low, I'm feeling like I can't step up to a challenge that's ahead of me, I remind myself of how far I've come. It's been a decade of challenges, of wins, of lots of growth. And so those are the things that I hold on to keep me going.
Thank you. And it holds to the statement that you made earlier. You are in charge of your story, and it is true testament of that, putting yourself out there and building confidence based on your strength. And yeah, no, I love that. Yes, that.
Yes, so how I have found that I have built up confidence is learning to take different opportunities that present itself, never being afraid to take an opportunity, even though maybe you're not sure, you can always learn, and being willing to take that time to learn. So I mentioned in the intro, it mentioned how equity and inclusion is something that I love and is something I'm passionate about. But it's not something I was born with innately passion for. It's something that I learned through the different volunteer opportunities I took. For example, I volunteer on the Halifax Youth Advisory Board. I've also done some work with the Dalhousie Student Union as an equity and accessibility coordinator, and being able to learn and see the different ways in which equity, inclusion, diversity play in the fields, in schools, in the communities, and being able to get that knowledge then gives you the confidence and the ability to speak up in rooms where maybe your wisdom and your expertise might be the one that is needed to answer a question. And so being bold enough to be able to speak up in rooms where people are talking about these topics, and being able to learn and share your opinion. And so through the process of learning, it gives me that confidence and that willingness to go and speak out and be able to share my what I'm learning. Also just, again, going for the different opportunities that are presented before me and being able to sign up, volunteer, and put my best in. One thing that I've really learned is that you have to put your best in everything you do. It can be volunteering, it can be a job, even if it's part-time. Put in your best effort, because you never know what you could learn from that job. You never know who you could meet. You never know where it could end. It could be what leads you to your next big career job. So giving your best foot at everything that you do. Also being able to networking is something that I've really learned, being bold enough to walk up to people and just approach them. And one thing that I feel like it's something I just tell myself that really gives me that courage to walk up to people is that we're all adults here. Like once you reach 18, you're an adult. So that 40-year-old person is an adult. 60 is an adult. You at 20, you're an adult. So being able to not minimize myself in my mind has really helped me to be able to walk up to people who maybe are someone who I'm interested in learning from, or being a mentor to me, and being able to walk up and say hi and introduce myself. And you never know how much that shocks someone and surprises them. And they're like, wow, like this person seems so articulate and confident and interested in getting to know who you are and hearing your story. So just remembering, you are not a child, you are an adult. You are able to walk up to people, introduce yourself, and have impact. What you say matters, your voice matters, your experience matters. And when you hold that in your mind, you're able to fully present yourself in a way that is bold, that's confident, and that expresses the authenticity of who you are.
I love that. Thank you. And again, it really shows who you are by how you are never afraid to take an opportunity and even start things that maybe have never been done before, like your charity organization, or just doing things that nobody thinks of. And it is confidence and it's boldness and just taking that extra step. But I love how you put it, to put your best in. And like you said, like what can really happen? You are an adult and people will respect you for putting yourself out there and giving it your all. So thank you for always showing us that.
Yeah. Thank you. Shameless plug, sorry. If you're in Halifax next year, my charity holds charity events, sports events that are fun for everyone to attend. It allows you to be able to volunteer and also to give back to the community. So next year, summer, look out, Amazing Race will be being held, and would love to see each and every one of you there. Thank you.
Thank you, Abba. Yeah.
Hi again. Okay. So, how did I find my voice and assert confidence? So I mainly tailored this question more to like the beginning of the university time. So what I would say is, firstly, this question is kind of funny to me. So I've always been an outspoken person. I came from A level already an outspoken person. My thing was more, I'm kind of the opposite of, I was the opposite of Rihanna in terms of I was very outspoken, but not confident, but I was very outspoken. But because of that, like being outspoken and being very inquisitive, obviously I'll find myself in arguments, fights and stuff. So a lot of first year, it was a lot of like, I would say what it is on my mind. I would say what I was passionate about. And because of that, I kind of was somewhat making my footing in residence. I didn't realize that, but I kind of was. So yeah, I was always outspoken. I was always just saying it as it is. I'm more mature now. And I feel like because it came about a lot of backlash, I kind of became more quiet, specifically in my second year, because I also went through some assault. So a lot of my personality changed more, but it was a good trait. It just, I wish I had a covering, like a mentor who would help me like understand that aspect of myself. But anyway, so I was very outspoken, kind of had my voice, but I feel like I later on through that, I just learned more about what I was passionate about and it meant a lot to me to speak about, because I would put myself in just stupid fights that a lot of it I didn't need to talk. I didn't need to say anything. I didn't need to be around these people. But I am thankful that I did talk, because I kind of created some fence around myself on some topics. So like, for instance, from first year, me and Holly even kind of bonded on this. Like I'm a feminist, but I was very much a radical feminist in my first year. And yes, it brought about fights, but it reached a point I'd be in dockside. Boys don't want to talk to me about some issues because they knew I was going to come and fight. So it became like kind of a thing about me, but I thank God for the good, because that was a lot. So that was an aspect. And I think through that, I grew more in my confidence through knowing what I was actually really passionate about, what I want to talk about, and what like I should just give people more grace about, and how to go about things and just educate people instead of like arguing or doing too much for no reason. So yeah. And then now my second year, kind of like the end of first year and then COVID second year, I became more quiet. Yes, started off wrongly, but I would say that was kind of about a turning point for me, because I kind of learned to appreciate my own space. So yes, I was speaking, I was asserting my confidence, but I also learned to be very confident and love my own space. I would go to Dockside and I would intentionally sit alone. Like I remember actually Holly and Krystal coming to like ask to stay with me and everything, and I would be like, no, I actually want to be alone. I was not pissed or anything, but I learned to just love my own version of peace, which was just being alone. And in that some way too, I also learned more aspects about myself and like the type of people I want to be around, the type of space I want to be around, and how I want to be seen. So yeah. And then I would say the last aspect is I was, yes, I've always been outspoken, but I've always put myself out there. I'm not someone who actually kind of had to learn this aspect of myself. Because even from A level, I was captain in like sports teams and stuff like that. So I've always been someone who was like put myself out there just because, African parents, like how you're not doing anything. So I've learned to be like that. So even coming to uni from first year of first, second year, I was like in residence committees. Later on, I worked in residence life, and being an RSO is kind of like a networking opportunity. Like that job, I learned of different spaces of SBU and everything through that. And then later on being an executive in the African Civil Society. So I just kind of made my own footing in school through that. And I started thriving more, putting myself out there, networking kind of was a chatterbox. So just like to be around people and talk. So that's kind of my story with it.
Yeah, thank you. And I think your passion spoke for you. And that's very true to being confident in your identity. Yes. Maybe in first year we spike up a couple of arguments just for the fun of it. But when you're passionate and you stay true to it, it will speak to who you are. And I think that is what you represent. And yeah, thank you for sharing with us. Tracy.
Thank you. I love and agree with everything that everyone has already said. The only thing that I could add on here is about know your worth and know your rights. Those two things. I feel like I was always like I could speak, but I always had an issue with like one-on-one. Like put me in a crowd of 10,000 people. As long as I don't have to speak to you one person, that's fine. So that was my issue that I realized that I used to have having that one-on-one, because then it would get so personal and then it's just like, no. But when it comes, I'll start with the what side. The one thing about me is that I know what I know and I know what I don't know. So I hope that makes sense. Like if you put me in terms of leadership, in terms of advocacy, in terms of women's rights, in terms of Black history, that's my strength. Obviously, if you put me in like engineering, medicine, I might not know what it is, but I'll be able to contribute from my avenue. So being able to know your worth, because so many times I felt like when I would have the conversations, I would feel diminished if I didn't know what someone was talking about, which sometimes can be the thing that makes people so afraid to have those conversations in unfamiliar places. So know what you know can also contribute to someone. It doesn't mean that what you know, you should know everything else, but what you know is obviously also important. When it comes to know your rights, I think one of the things that I've seen, I've faced, but also other international students have faced, is issues whereby they'll, let's say, try and get like a new landlord, and the landlord will be like, actually here in Canada, you need to pay 4 months in advance. That's how we work here. Or things that I've experienced like in, some grocery store. I won't name it for legal reasons, but things like, oh, we only promote you up depending on like if you have a PR card, things like that. But the one thing I live by, if you guys know this TikTok sound, you cannot trick me. That is the one thing I live by. From that time, I'm one of those people, I'm that friend whereby when people are signing waivers, I'm taking 10 minutes or so. When people are like, we are having a meeting with this person, okay, we are going to have a meeting on Monday. What did you do on Monday morning while your meeting was in the evening? Or you're going to meet this important person. Did you do your research on what they have done? Or if you're going to go for example, if I ask you right now, can your landlord, remove you if they have given you a 120 days notice? ask yourself. If you don't know the answer to that, then you should find out. Just being able to know these things, because you're new, there are unfortunately some people who might take advantage of you, and me being able to remember some of these things. And you don't have to remember everything. It's more about refreshing here and there. And now we have ChatGPT. It can give you all the rights you need to know. But know your worth and know your rights. That will really help you in terms of getting familiar with these settings. And it also helps you bring out that confidence, even if you are not like originally as confident. I'll leave you with this homework. What is your 30-second pitch? If I called onto your name right now, sometimes that conversation that's going to change your life, you only have 1 minute. You only have 1 minute for that conversation. So someone needs to know about you, what you contribute, what's the value, and what are you looking for in 30 seconds. So if there's any homework I can leave you with, is what's your 30-second pitch? That gives you more confidence. So for me, when all these people are talking about networking, that helped me, because I know if someone just comes, I'm like, oh, hello, my name is Tracy. I'm very passionate about women's advocacy and women's rights. I'm also a government relations person. I usually help people in terms of writing grants, writing policies. But on the side, I also founded Black Girl Talk Collective. 30 seconds. I'm sure you can tell what I'm interested in and what I do. So if there's anything I'll leave you with, it's that.
That's amazing. Know your worth and know your rights. Gotta write that one down. But thank you. And that's very true. Knowing that 30-second pitch. I remember when I was applying for jobs, I had to hit up Tracy because I'm like, I don't know how to sell myself. I need your help. I just don't know how to explain everything I like and who I am in one short little blurb. And it's very important, especially when you're entering the workforce. So thank you for that. Shaneika.
I don't even know what to add to the conversation because everything has just been flushed out and thrown out there. I do agree with what Tracy said about it's because we don't know why we lose confidence. Like, a lot of us were coming here from third world countries and we come here into this big space and there's so much information to learn that we just become silent or we become mute because we don't know. And we're afraid that people will find out that we don't know. And I think one of the things that helped me to find my voice is remembering people don't really care. Like they genuinely don't care. Nobody will remember after that, oh, she asked this question in class. Like they don't. So ask a question. And then I started, one of the things I believe as I reflect on my journey that I did differently was I started going into the spaces that my other peers were not going into. Like something about that, kind of dragged me to those networking events. I wanted to go to the office hours to see my professor because those are the things that we see as minimal or oh it doesn't matter. It really does. And then again, I have to echo that 30-second pitch of just knowing who you are in the moment. Because a lot of us, when we're international students, you come here and you come here with, this big dream that you're going to grow, you're going to elevate. In the forefront of your mind, I won't even say at the back of your mind, you have to remember why you came here, who you are in the moment. And as you continue to grow, you just add on to that. You're involved now in policy work, you add on to that. You've always been a natural leader, that's who you are. You add on to that. So I definitely think it's the fact that we're coming from smaller countries, we're coming from third world countries, so we come into this big space and we have all this information to intake. We become mute because we don't know. But the best thing that you can do is throw yourself out there because people don't know that you actually don't know.
Wow, that's great. It is good to remember sometimes that people don't care because it does get to you like, oh my gosh, how am I going to look when I ask this question or when I do this thing that I've never seen anybody else do? Like Karen was sharing how
they don't. And it's those small things that, they will remember. They will remember, you're in a networking event and you walk up and you say hello because guess what? Nobody else is doing it. So you're just doing what everybody else is doing, like you're not standing out. I remember the moment, the the switch flipped in my brain. I was in my quantitative methods class, and I love that class so much. And I wanted to ask so much questions. Like every time she would go through a problem, and if I didn't get it, I wanted to raise my hand, but nobody in the class was talking. The professor would be like, "Oh, are there any questions?" And nobody would say anything. And I was sitting there with a burning question in my soul. And I remember one day I was like, you know what, man, I'm just gonna ask my question. And every class after that, every time the professor says, "Does anybody have a question?" she would look at me because she know I have a question. And fast forward to like a year and a half later, and this has nothing. It's kind of just like how, just finding your voice, being confident can lead to opportunities. She emailed me with an opportunity to be like, "Hey, are you interested in being a TA in my course?" Things like that. Like, just do it. Trust me, you won't look weird.
Wow, no, I love that. And it's it's true. Just do it and don't be afraid. And with that, I'm going to use you for the next question as well, and start you off. But as graduation approaches for you and has approached for the rest of you, many students find themselves wondering if they're truly ever prepared for the professional world. The transition from student life into the workforce, or even as a student, what it's like to put yourself in the workforce is often filled with anticipation and uncertainty. So, Shaneika, based on how far you are in your journey, how well prepared did you feel as you entered the workforce, and how do you feel knowing that as graduation is approaching, how the type of workplaces you want to go into, the spaces, what are some of your expectations, and how do you prepare yourself to really be ready to do this 9 to 5 thing every day of your life?
How do I feel like one of the things, like one of the biggest advice I can leave with anyone, as it regards to like preparing, like as I'm on that preparation stage of just entering into my third year, is that I started working the second I got here. And it might have been for different reasons in terms of lack of resources, but I feel like just getting myself, into the habit of what does the Canadian work experience look like. That kind of definitely helps, and taking those opportunities as they come to kind of build my professional self here in the community. Like for me, it's always, what are my resources and who am I up against? I have a clear understanding that there are a lot of students in the commerce program at SMU. There are a lot of students taking the degree that I'm taking. What is going to make me stand out again compared to somebody else when we both sit in front of a job interview? That's always in the back of my mind. And so my thing is, if I can add more things, if I can add more experiences, then I'll be okay. If they can see that, okay, she has worked here, she has worked there, maybe she's a better candidate, and they'll, in my mind, in my theoretical world, in my fairy tale, they're gonna go with me. It may not go according to that, but I feel like just having that balance of seeing the academic side of things and then still trying to pursue it in terms of real work experience definitely kind of helps me to kind of feel like, okay, I'm prepared, I can handle this. And it's a nice feeling. It's a good feeling when you're able to um, work within the industry that you're interested in before grad, because that kind of helps you to kind of figure out, do I really want to work in this industry? Earlier on in last fall, I was presented with two opportunities as I kind of struggled. One thing about me, I'm an overthinker. And so I was kind of wondering, should I be taking a commerce? Should I be taking a finance degree? Like, is it going to be worth anything? Two opportunities in terms of work presented themselves at the same time, each being an opposite. So being able to work in corporate, being able to work in a non-for-profit sector, and I took both of them. Did I know how I was going to balance? No, I figured it out after. Would I advise anybody to do that? Sure. But it sets me up in a position where I have a clear goal now of, kind of where I want to go after grad. I have a feeling of what, working looks like. So I definitely say if you can find a job, whatever the industry is in, find it and try to make it work with your studies because it helps.
For sure. And I think when I think of somebody who is a good example of working during school, you're the poster child. Because like she said, she's entering her third year, but Shaneika is part of the face of Halifax.
Uh,
Healthy world. It's a really big deal, and you should give yourself the props because it's not easy. Even after school, it's not easy. So really, really proud of you for that. And with that, it's Tracy.
Okay, I definitely put a time on my phone because I love this question. This is my favorite question, trying to get people prepared for grad. So for context, I had the full-time job that I'm doing now. I got my job 2 months before I actually graduated. So I had it fully signed, just waiting for me. And at least for this, all the stuff that I did, we have some testimony to like show that there's some proof in it. But so I'll give you kind of a map out. Year 1, year 2 in university. U1, U2. Spend that time building up your volunteerism. Trust me, everyone is going to get a degree. You're not that special. I want to tell it to you right now. And everyone is going to show bachelor's degree this time or honors thesis this time. So you're looking for ways to set yourself apart. So year 1, year 2, go full on student clubs, volunteer in the community, volunteer the non-for-profit, build up that last part of volunteerism when it comes to resume. Year 3, I feel personally, I pivoted a lot. I started with computer science. It did not work out, but thank God it was for the best. I'm in such a really good avenue that I really love. So you're in your university 3rd year at this moment in time, you've decided, hopefully by this time, but even if there are challenges, it's okay whenever you do decide, that's fine. But hopefully if by 3rd year you've decided, because I'm imagining you're getting closer to graduation, start scoping out who do you want to work for. Because those people that you want to work for, so do your other classmates, there are hundreds of them, they also want to work for those same people that you're planning to work for. So year 3, I knew the people I wanted to work with, like my employer right now. By year 3, I knew that I wanted to work for them. I had already started reaching out. I was telling them I'm graduating in a year and a half, but I want your company. How can I get to working for your company? That includes, if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, I'm adding that to the list of the homework. Put it next to the 30-second pitch. When you get your LinkedIn, go to those companies that you've chosen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however they might be, the top people, the HRs, the hiring, or whoever has your position that you have. Year 3 going to year 4, this is what you should be doing. Reach out to those people, say, hey, I'm planning to graduate. How can I make sure I'm ready for this position? What is this position looking for? As I said, in that application stack, they are 50 people already. There are 100. Your name has to be familiar. We are looking for something for you to actually stand out in that position. So do not wait for, oh, I've just graduated, I'm here looking for a job. The person who started the year and a half before you, they're already steps way before you are right now. So year 4, when you are applying now for these jobs, as you apply, please apply before graduation, when you know that you're going to you're going to graduate, and then you do that follow-up with these people. Hey, I put in my application, looking forward to hearing from you. But think about it, from like 2 years, you've already been building a relationship, a foundation for your career and for your job. So that's one of the reasons that helped me to have this job 2 months before I graduated. I did not have to go through that headache because I was lucky enough, or you could say worked hard and timed my thing to start doing what I needed. And you might be in year 4 thinking, well, you said year 3, it's never too late. Start researching. You have those companies, those ideas that you want to work for. Start reaching out. It's really about relationship building. If there's one thing I always tell people, your network is your net worth. The way it is back home, as you might think, it is. That's the way it is here. I'm sorry to break it to you if you did not know. So do that networking, have your 30-second pitch, because exactly, you might find your future employer at those conferences, those roundtable events, those community events. Just make sure to have that all locked in. That's it.
No, thank you. You have a lot of good staple statements. Your network is your net worth, and it's very, very true and stands a lot with what Shaneika was sharing about resources and remembering that there's a lot of people out there, but you have what it takes to have that job and have that standout application, and you can make the transition well. So thank you for that.
Can I just, quickly Tracy dropped some real gems. Like I remember when I was in my first year and I was going to networking events, um, and I was doing my introduction, going up to these people, be like, oh, my name is mind you, just reaching Canada. Oh, my name is Shaneika, blah, blah, blah. Halfway into the discussion, they're like, oh, we're hiring. I'm like, oh, I'm only in my first year. The disappointment? But did they remember my name?
Yeah.
And that was the aim. Did they remember my name? Yes, they did. And that was the aim. Like, you want to be able to put yourself in rooms that will set you apart for the future.
Yeah. And I think sometimes networking isn't just about give me the job. It's about remember my name, remember my face, remember my place because I'm coming, but remember me in the spaces where you heard who I am and what I stand for, and bring up my name if need be, or introduce me to that person. And yeah, no, I really agree. Thank you guys. Abba.
So like Shaneika said, Tracy really dropped some dimes. So I don't know why I can add as much because she really did add dimes. But I would just say she also really spoke about like you can start later, and I would say now that's where I would more relate, like my addition. Because I'm not gonna lie, in terms of jobs, I had a view of like what I want to be, but I never had a view of the journey of how that would happen. And then in terms of uni, it's like I had ideas of work and everything, but it was very in uni. And but later on, one of the questions I'll speak more on that. But yeah, it was really just on campus. So like I did different jobs on campus and everything. But I didn't really look at life after. So firstly, my story is a bit different because I graduated as a co-op. So I from my final year of uni, well, I was already doing co-op in my third year, and then my final year of uni, I did back-to-back co-ops and graduated on a co-op. So because of that, I already had this routine of doing a 9 to 5 as a student for a long time before I graduated. So I couldn't really fully relate to people because I had been working, but under the student profile for a long time. How I ended up there, I wanted to do a co-op. Because I wasn't sure of how I wanted my first part of chapter in career to look like. So I always wanted to be a co-op student. I always wanted to try out. And then, having overprotective strict parents. Like from first year of uni, my dad had a vision of me doing co-op. So it wasn't a conversation. He expected me in the co-op program. When I didn't get in my first year, it became even a conversation with advisors. So I was supposed to be co-op. But yeah, so I graduated on co-op. So because of that, I kind of already had a sense of professionalism and working being an employee for 8 months before I graduated. And then after I graduated, they gave me a contract job. And then near graduation, I had now this job. So this whole time I've been in the same company, East Coast Credit Union, but under different jobs for a while. So mine would more so be figuring out what I kind of wanted to do in the different types of jobs I was doing and learning more about the skills and what I want through that process. So what I would say for me, really, because I was already working, is just embracing uncertainty. So because I've been working, but it's been a lot of not what I wanted. So like my first contract job I got before this one, I was still a project specialist, but I was in the IT digital transformation department, and I was creating a bot. I graduated a business student. My passion is in like international development, that, but I was over here creating a bot on the company's website, learning about computer gates and like completely different from what I am and where I am now. So I would say embrace uncertainty, because through that though, it did build a lot of respect in the company, that like people were always like, where do you want to go? And then other than that, to build skills that I can put in other places and has helped me in other places, because now I also do web design. But it's not where I expect it to be. So, just pick up skills. Yeah. Embrace like still the idea of rejection, because I graduated with a business degree. So I had an idea of where I wanted to work, but it didn't look as linear. But at the same time, open your mind to difference. I work in a credit union. I had made it like a big point that I did not want to work in the business sector, but I never realized a credit union exists, which is like the bridge of both worlds of the private sector and the public sector. So that was a big thing for me. So just open your mind to like indifference and being able to do other things. And then I wasn't really anxious of graduation because I had a job, but kind of finding what I wanted to do really and figuring out if I could be in that space. So what I would advise that one is from my third year of uni, I've been going to career counseling in SMU. You still have access to 3 years after graduation in SMU. And I've had different counselors and I still go to them, and they're consistently helping me like figure out what I really want to do, while still like I'm at the comfort now of having work while I'm figuring out what I want to do. So it's a better space. So I push for career counseling. Personally, I push for co, but I know that a lot of people are like, it doesn't like, why should I push through and do the whole 3 terms and it delays graduation? But in my situation, it really helped because before graduation, I had a job and I've still been working since. So it kind of gave me consistency throughout everything. And then I did have something else I wanted to say. Sorry. I'm all over the place. I would also say just the only thing I guess I maybe struggled with more is just it reached a point because I had been working for a long time. The routine was really getting to my head, which is crazy because I'd been doing 2 jobs before I graduated, working full-time and doing my other job. But yet it was like, I guess I was just very fatigued at a point, and I was doing a job that I wasn't really happy in when I was doing the IT board thing. So I was it was getting to my mental health was very poor, but I was still enjoying going through it. And then I got the opportunity for another job in the same company to kind of networking and explaining what I wanted to do and career counseling. And through all of this, it's also built a space more for figuring out creativity, because I feel like in SMU, I was doing a lot of different things. And maybe that's why I graduated, not fully having a picture of where to start. And then now being here, it's giving me more of a space to like, yes, I'm working, but diving more into my creative side and what I've been already doing. Because like I was already writing poems and stuff like that from my first year of uni. I just didn't realize that these are avenues you can build on for career or getting money until I entered this space of my life. So yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought, but there was something you said about your journey. It wasn't being linear. It's very true. Not everybody's journey is going to be the same, as you've seen from a lot of these speakers. Everyone's in a different place, but it's just about the intentionality and where you decide you want to go. Like Karen said, you're in charge of your story. And if you say, I'm going to work on it in second year, if you say, I'm going to work on it after graduation, let me finish school and I'll deal with all of this. It doesn't ever put you behind. Your story will start when you want your story to start. It's just about knowing that you can, there's more than one way to reach your end goal. And I think that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. We are getting a bit.
I was gonna say, just to add on. So what I was gonna say now with like studying so I started my third year. I was also doing a lot of volunteering in my third year. I will push for in SMU, there's the INC program that literally pushes for international students to volunteer in different companies in Halifax. So that is how I built my profile more in community development for like what I wanted to do with ideas. So I really pushed for Tracy with the volunteering thing, but I started late in my technically last year of uni, actually not third year. So yeah, just wanted to add that.
No, so We are getting a bit tighter on time now, so I will be a bit stricter, but thank you so much, Krystal. You can add anything you want to share.
Yes. So for me, definitely, my journey into the working field was not what I originally thought. It's definitely a bit, I guess, opposite a little bit, because definitely I agree that volunteering is so important. Definitely volunteer, do like work, be willing to work university jobs like in the student union. Those are also very important. And sometimes I know they're not the best in terms of if you want hours, but they can really give you that avenue. And working in university is always such a good, it looks good on your resume as well. And it's very good experience because you learn a lot, you're exposed to a lot, and it allows you to make good references as well that you can use for your future jobs. For me, the biggest part of my work experience has been, I would say, my faith. I think really allowing my faith to be one of the things that drives me, that guides me, and that allows me to really direct my life has been something that has really been foundational in where I am. For example, I'll say during my last year of university, I was very worried about what am I going to do? What's going to happen? You know, all those questions you have, because it's like you've done your degree, now you have it. What's going to happen moving forward? And so I made sure to do all that. I connected. I did internships every summer. I did work during my school year. I made connections, connected with the different law firms that I was always interested in, and tried to get mentors. And one thing I've really learned is networking. What I think Holly said it as well, is especially it's very relational. Like go with it also to learn, and not necessarily always get a position or a job. Sometimes you can just learn something from someone who has had an experience that could change the way you look at the work field that you're interested in. Going there, I've met some very amazing mentors who have not given me a job, but have given me so much wisdom and understanding that will continue to impact me for the rest of my career. And people who I know I can always go and ask about their experiences. Because one thing I also love when I meet and make mentors is asking them about their journey. Like, why do you why do you do what you do? Why don't you like it? What would you change about what you're doing? What about your journey? Like really learning the background, because it also helped me narrow down where like future prospects of where I'd want to work. Would I want to move? Would I want to stay here? What companies to work for, what not to work for? Like all those things, and learning about people's backgrounds really helps you kind of narrow down. For me, the job I got, I can only say it was God that opened this door, because after graduation, I was working a part-time job, working with formerly incarcerated people, which was such a great opportunity, because I got to learn so much about the background of the justice system. Because a lot of the times it's, working with lawyers and law firms, and you're learning only what happens in the money-making end of it. But now being able to see the people who are actually impacted by the justice system, and being able to see their lives and understand them, was so great, because it fueled my passion for it. It fueled my passion to now go from a space of, these are the people we're here to help. It's not always just about the financial gratification, which is great. We all want money. Money is good. I never said anything else, but it really allowed me to learn and be able to fuel that passion and know that this is what I want to do for this reason. And so, as I said, I was working a part-time job. Rejections, you're applying, you're not getting, it's very demoralizing and stuff. And so I worked that job for like 8 months. And at the last month, my sister advised me to apply for this job, which she sent me, gave me so much support, and really lean on the supports of the people who have jobs, who have been through the experience of applying and going through interviewing. And it's very important. And honestly, favor of God, I got the job. It was so like, I never even envisioned myself like, that's how crazy it was, because even in my process of applying in last year, the Nova Scotia Human Rights Commission was never in the scope of where I was going to go. And I'm a firm believer of what is for you will be for you. The doors that are meant for you will never be closed in your face. And when you really rely on God to guide you and show you where you're meant to go, He'll never send you to a door that's going to reject you. So I think really leaning on that as well because sometimes I think one thing I would say for myself that I would have changed is I would have put less pressure on myself, because it was so go, 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 go. I have to do this, like it was a lot. And for it to be a space where I now graduate and the job has not come in the first 1 month of me graduating, frustrated me, but it also allowed me to realize, like, give yourself grace, reduce the pressure. Yes, work hard. Please never think that there's anything you can ever trade for working hard, connecting. All those things are important, but also give yourself grace. You're in your own lane. Allow yourself to breathe and trust God that He will open the door that's meant for you. That's my story.
Amen. So thank you, Krystal. I think that was beautiful. And as somebody who watched this journey, guys, it is a faith thing where, sometimes some doors open so quickly for some people, and it's not that God has left you, or it's not that you're not one of God's favorites. It's not that at all. It's just every story is different. And like she said, in her part-time job, she was building the skills. And like Abba said as well, you build these skills in these little things that you don't notice. It's building you up for something greater. And what is for you, it will be for you. And when the time comes, when the door opens, it's gonna stay open, and it'll work out in your favor. So thank you for that. So, Karen.
Like Tracy, at this question, I'm super passionate about career transition, professional growth, so much that I got an opportunity with Black Girls Gather to develop their programming for their graduate to employment pathway. This program supports Black women getting jobs, but also thriving in those careers. So 2 minutes is not enough time for me to share everything that I would love to share with you all on this call today. So if you would like to follow up with me after what I share briefly, I'll leave my email. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me and we can talk further about your specific situation. But the first thing, I'll go quickly, transferable skills, have an open mind. So to what all the panelists have been sharing about how to look for a job, keep an open mind as to, yes, you may be in engineering, but it doesn't mean that you can only do engineering jobs. Your programs teach you lots of transferable skills. So I was in a commerce program, and my thought was I was going to go into business consulting, and from a strategy point of view, helping organizations build and in that way. And I also looked at what are my other transferable skills. So strategy is one of those. I'm deeply reflective. I'm good at designing things. I'm good at speaking. And so I also had my second tier of job opportunities that are within that realm that led me down a path in project management, curriculum design, equity work. And that's where I'm thriving today. Nothing to do with what my degree was, but all those skills helped build me and bring me here. So have your first tier that's directly correlated to your degree, but then keep an open mind with what your transferable skills could land you into. Secondly, I know for a lot of us newcomers, you're trying to find a job because if you're an international student, you want to get PR. So you want to get your job as quickly as possible so you can go get your PR, get settled, have that off your mind, that stress, have the benefits of what it means to be a permanent resident. And then there could also be some financial challenges. It could also be pushing you to want to get a job as soon as possible. But we talk a lot about getting the job, but there's a lot about the type of job specifically and also thriving in that job. That is the whole other hidden conversation that we don't talk about. And that's what the program that I built delves into. But just to touch on some of the things, when you talk about getting a job, we're not talking about your relationship with your boss. That heavily impacts how you're going to thrive in that position. The work environment, is it a healthy working environment? That also impacts how your mental health and how you're going to thrive. The routine, the day-to-day expectations in your role, how accessible is your job? If you're going to have a 2-hour commute daily to your job, you may be happy to have a job, but how is that going to impact you as a person as you navigate your day-to-day? We don't talk about those things, but they're important as you're deciding which organization, which letter to sign, as you're maybe past your first work experience. Those are some of the things that you start to be more intentional about. We don't usually have conversations about, filing taxes, growing your income. Now that you have your first paycheck, what to do with it? How do you start investing your money, being more strategic with your finances? How do you grow in your career, set yourself up for promotions, job hopping, if that's the avenue. Some people prefer to grow within an institution. Some people prefer to job hop every 1 to 2 years, get a new opportunity. How do you communicate your story? Sell yourself in a way that communicates your value to an organization is very important. How to support your mental health as you thrive in your career. That's also another key thing. I don't talk about navigating white supremacy in the workplace. Black women, newcomers, it is something that happens. It's the hidden conversation we don't talk about, but you get in there, you're entry level, the power dynamics at the institution. Some of the things are even hard to describe because you feel like it's in your head. So that's the hidden conversation that I'm very passionate about. And if I could go back in time with my mentors as I was having those conversations about what opportunities are in their organizations, having your head focused on that, but also I wish I had been more intentional about opening up to my mentors, having conversations about some of these things that I've been sharing about, because these things impact your experience. They impact whether you're getting a promotion, they impact your mental health. Lots of people get jobs, their mental health goes down the drain. Some people get fired, some people get let go. And so when you get in there, read the policies. I'll quote Tracy, know your rights, understand your rights as an employee, know the resources available for you. A lot of people don't use their work benefits. Go to that dental appointment, go get your massages, go talk to your therapist, use your benefits. They're sitting there, you're giving your money away. All that money that's taken away on your paycheck, the reason you're not getting your full gross, you're paying for these services, use them. Please, please. What else? Yeah, so lots of things. If you want to chat further on any of that, happy to sit one-on-one with you. But yeah, just there's so much more than just getting the job, and we can talk further if you need to.
Thank you for that. We call Karen Coach K, and this is some of the reasons why we call her Coach K, because she has a lot of wisdom to share, and I was very fortunate to be in that Black Girls Gather graduate to employment program. And it's true, these are the conversations that we had, and it helped me so much because I would have been so, I don't know, just very like, oh, okay, I guess working is fun, 9 to 5, let's go see what it's like. And there are these real conversations that you need to have, the white supremacy and everything. And I'm seeing a read that Tracy has put in the chat for anyone who would like to, and do follow up with Karen for more of this wisdom. Yeah, no, thank you so much. And Riana.
Okay, I'm gonna keep it short and sweet for the sake of time, but I will start off by saying my university experience was very different, and I think I speak for Krystal, Holly, but when I say this, because our experience was altered a lot by COVID. Second year, third year, I did not have a university experience for second and third year. So I was away, I left. After my first year ended, I left, I went to Toronto, and I was doing school online. So all of those networking, all of those building relationships, stuff like that, I don't think I really had that much of an opportunity. I did have a little, I made do with what I had, but our experience was different. So I think we had to figure out how to navigate that new world. But what worked for me, I find, was mentorship. I had to find people who were in the spaces that I want to be in, who were doing the things that I wanted to do, and succeeding in those areas. So having those mentors to help to guide you and stuff like that really, really worked for me. So when I came back in my last year, I decided that I'm going to use that 1 year to try to fill the gaps for the 2 years that I missed. Was it a good idea? Maybe not, but I was working so many different jobs because I was like, I want the experience here, I want the experience there, and I was job hopping. I was trying to build connections with different professors, trying to get them to know who I am, like the panelist said, trying to get my name out there. And it was quite hard, but I did what I had to do. LinkedIn, like Tracy said, I utilize LinkedIn so much, and LinkedIn is my holy grail. LinkedIn is my best friend. It has worked. I've gotten so many job opportunities just by connecting with people on LinkedIn, and they will reach out to me and they'll be like, oh, I like this and I like that. We should connect. And I'm like, yes, please. So LinkedIn has really worked for me. I will also say like Abba, I got at least 4 job offers before I graduated. So that last year was hard, but I guess it did a lot for me. I had the jobs lined up, and that's because, as I said, my mentors really helped. I was utilizing the resources on campus, so those resume revamping sessions that they had, I would be there, those preparing for interviews. I think having a good resume is good, but knowing how to guide an interview is the thing. Because putting your qualifications on paper is one, but knowing when you go into that interview, that's where the real deal is. So I feel like focus more on carrying out an interview. That's what you really need to grasp and just know how to navigate that environment. So yeah, pretty much for me, if anything that I would have done differently, not really. I just wish I had more time to build myself up some more. But as I said, I utilized LinkedIn. I found those mentors and it worked out pretty well, but it could have been better. No thanks to COVID. So yeah, keeping it short and sweet. So yeah.
Thank you. And yeah, mentorship, I think in its own is a whole other topic we'd have to do on what's the importance of mentors. Why do I need a mentor? How do they help? Because they are a form of networking that a lot of people can utilize in their favor. I'm going to sort of combine the last 2 questions just because we still have a good number of people here, and I'm sure they have some questions for our great panelists. So the last 2 were about personal growth and actionable advice. And every challenge presents an opportunity for personal growth, as we have heard today. And the experience you have had along the way have likely shaped who you are. Those moments of resilience can leave a lasting impact on both your personal and professional life. So in what ways do you feel these experiences shaped who you are today? And how have they influenced the work you are currently doing? And given those challenges and growth, what key pieces of advice would you offer to students looking to maximize their success in both their academic and professional journeys? And you could start off again with you.
Okay, I want to say for me, this really stuck with me is putting yourself in those uncomfortable situations. Like for me, I remember my first pitch competition here at SMU. It was horrible. I was cracking. I almost cried. Even though I said I was always a confident person, I've never really done a pitch before. So it was my first time and it was a different type of experience. But I will say that has helped me to develop a lot. It put my name out there in terms of just Halifax. A lot of people reached out to me because I was doing these pitch competitions and I guess getting placements, winning, getting second place, stuff like that. So my biggest advice from this question is putting yourself out there. Putting yourself in uncomfortable situations will definitely help to develop your skills. Pretty much just put yourself out there.
Thank you. Yeah, it is vital. And yeah, and also, sorry, to in terms of your personal growth, do you feel like those were the things that shaped you? The more you put yourself out there, do you feel like it helped shape the person that you are today?
For sure. You start to uncover parts of yourself that you didn't know you had. You start to realize how much power you have, how confident you really are, and just, as I said, discovering different parts of you. As it helps you to gain new relationships, very, I guess, meaningful relationships. I remember just getting jobs from professors just because I work with professors. So professors will just reach out to me and say, hey, I heard that you work with this person as a research. We'd love to offer you this position. So stuff like that. So definitely putting yourself out there is the best thing you can do. It has worked for me, even though, again, as I said, 2 years wasn't here, but that's what helped me to grow and to be here today.
Love that. Thank you, Karen.
So Holly, are we mixing the last two questions, so personal growth and actionable advice for success?
Yes, please.
Okay. So ultimately, all the challenges that I've faced have made me who I am today. So I have no regrets for the things that I've been through. My skills that I've built, even those that I don't use today, they can't be taken away from me. And I use them to my strengths in different interviews and different places that I show up to. Failure has meant that I've had an opportunity to refocus my attention to the things that I'm actually good at. And I'm constantly using my past challenges to inform my work in the programs that I'm designing in my current job, creating early talent pathways for students to explore health careers at the high school level. So those are things that I'm passionate about that have been birthed out of my challenges. In terms of actionable advice for success from the professional standpoint, I know a lot of folks are speaking from the academic side, really learning to communicate your worth and your value in interviews to the folks that you chat with, and your mentors. A lot of folks show up to interviews kind of with a lack of confidence and not an ability to fully express the value that they bring, but putting yourself in the position of the recruiter and thinking, okay, what are the things that they're looking for? How can I communicate my value in a way that stands out from the 300 people that applied for this job? And how can I really show them that it has to be me? That's one of the skills that you have to fine tune over time. Get over the fear of being seen, put yourself out there, get on LinkedIn, have conversations about the things that you're passionate about. I know, especially when you're early in your career, kind of feel like you're always on the learning side of things and you don't have anything to give, but that's not true. In the areas that you're passionate about, start talking about those things online, build an online presence, a personal brand, especially on LinkedIn, Instagram, all platforms. Talk about the things that you're interested in, and the right people will find you and opportunities come to you that way. It's okay to be seen trying, to be seen putting yourself forward. Get over the cringe. Everyone's trying to, the folks who are around you are looking at you thinking, how can I build my confidence to actually do that? Get over the cringe and push forward. Keep a log of your wins. This is very helpful as you're trying to get promotions or as you're interviewing. One of the things I also advise is even when you get a job, keep interviewing. It doesn't matter if you're happy in your position. It's always good to know what's out there in the market. What are your skills going for in terms of salary? And also keeps preparing you for that next opportunity. In the first year of your job, focus on perfecting your job description. So learning those skills that are outlined and being very competent in the skills that you've been hired for. Depending on how fast you learn those skills in your first to second year, I want you to start transitioning from your job description to your manager's job description or the next role that you want to be in. Start looking at those job descriptions and start working backwards. What are the skills that you need to learn now to be able to get in front of those positions, to get interviews for those kinds of positions and stand out. And I'll leave you with, like I said, you're in charge of your story, you're in charge of your outcomes. Advocate for yourself. You're your biggest advocate, whatever position that you find yourself in. Speak up. If you're facing challenges at work, at school, talk to someone. Do not suffer in silence. Help is 1 or 2 or 3, 4 conversations away. It's 1, 2, 3 Google searches away. It's 1, 2, 3 resources away. Keep talking to, of course, people who respect your story and respect who you are and are actually for you and want to help you. And continue to advocate for yourself for promotions. If you're doing the work of your manager, start talking about, what opportunities are there for promotion within the organization, continue looking out for opportunities. But yeah, just we all have a lot to bring to the table, whether it's a business, growing in your career, excelling at school. Keep putting your best foot forward, and I wish you all the best. Thanks.
Thank you. I don't even have anything to add, just thank you. Krystal.
I don't know how you follow up on that. Wow. Please, I hope you took notes. Everything she said, just copy and paste. Wow. 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 Imagine I have this support at home. Crazy. I'm blessed. But anyway. So for me, personal growth. So for my personal growth and how I've been able to grow with my experience, I've been able to grow in my knowledge and understanding of the field and being able to narrow down the field that I am passionate about and desire to work in, that is equity, diversity, inclusion. So through my work experience, through my university degree, it's all been mostly around that same area and really given me the knowledge to be able to understand exactly the depth, the issues, and be able to see the ways in which I can see myself being maybe a solution to some of these problems. My advice is very simple. This is for people who maybe are in a space where you want to start something, whether it's an organization, a charity, something along those lines. Follow your passion. Allow your passion to be what drives you, because passion is the best fuel to keep you going. It's what will fuel your creativity, fuel your ability to wake up every single day, get that job done. And yeah, just don't get a job you hate, because you will hate every day, because the more you love it, the more you love what you're doing. It doesn't have to be perfection, but at least enjoy what you're doing. That will actually give you more longevity and more energy to pursue what you're doing. Make meaningful professional relationships, ensure that you meet people and you get to know them, let them get to know you and build on those relationships. Get people who want to see you win, because it's one thing to have like mentors who, and this being honest, sometimes mentors get mentees to kind of hype themselves up and make themselves feel better, but get people who genuinely want to see yourself, who want to see you win, who are invested in your success, because yeah, them other ones, all they'll do is have you compliment them and then you're back on your way to go and, struggle on LinkedIn to find a job to apply for. So yeah, meaningful professional relationships. And my final piece of advice is, I just want you to always remember your value is worth more than what you do. You are not limited, or your identity is not dictated by the job you have. Because one thing that I'm personally learning and really allowing myself to ingrain in is that when your foundation is based off of what you do, it's shaky. Because when you're doing great, oh, you're feeling on top of the world. But if something goes left in one way or another, you now are so shaky on who you are and your identity. So allow your identity not to be based off of what you do. Of course, love your job, be passionate about it, but you are worth more than just what you do for work. So that's my advice.
The Mutyabule household, you guys are dropping all the gems. Everybody is, but no, it's your value is worth more than what you do. And that's so important, because even from the transition between student and worker, your identity is student, then your identity is worker, but you're so much more than that. You're Shaneika, you're Tracy, you're Ava, you're Krystal, you're Karen, you're Riana, and you're so much more than what you do. And that is very important to remember and hold on to. So thank you for that. Abba?
Okay, so they really said it a lot. So in terms of personal growth and resilience, I was just gonna say, I did a lot of different things in school. But it wasn't linear, like I said. But one thing I'm thankful for is that I really built a culture of enduring and pushing forward so early on that, like, now coming to even just work life, I actually kind of even struggle with it just being like stable, that routine, that stillness, because I was used to like jumping. Like I said, like doing co-op, I was doing that 9 to 5 and then working night jobs at SMU. So I remember when I quit that job and I was just working, just being an employee. I remember like the first weekend I cried because I was just like, wow, like I haven't just slept in such a long time. So I'm thankful that I built the culture of like enduring and pushing forward. But now I'm really also thankful because now because I was doing just a lot of different things, not with a passion. And now I'm doing this work, but it's allowing me to now want to do more that I'm passionate about, like writing poems and modeling, all that other stuff. So that building that endurance has brought me now this space where it's like, okay, I'm working, but I can find and push forth more what I'm passionate in. Another thing I'm thankful for, but now that building resilience is I've learned through uni to learn to be vulnerable, going through many different experiences. I befriended therapy from first year. So I'm someone who I mean, I feel like Black people in general, but Africans, we don't accept therapy. We don't like, we really look down on it. We kind of judge people even go to therapy. I came to uni literally thinking like, should I be here? Until my mental health really, really crumbled in first year. So it's okay to go to therapy, find someone you can talk to, you can confide in, and through that, you're reflecting, you're learning, and you're going forward. So it's a good thing. And then learning to be patient, seeking mentorship. I found my mentor though at I think Rihanna, I don't know who said this, but through networking, I went to like just new events and I found my mentor through that, and he's really built and helped me like learn more about myself and what I'm passionate in and pushing forth in that. So yeah, seeking mentorship, I wish I did earlier. I found my mentor in my final year of uni. And just still being hopeful and a dreamer, I have kind of built on that through university. It kind of died during COVID, and I'm so thankful that Rihanna like spoke about that because it actually affected me at a point when I see like new freshers come in and they're doing a lot, and I'm like, where did 2, 3 years of my life in uni go? So it's kind of like you have to tell yourself that COVID really did do something. But now coming out of uni, coming back into being that dreamer and like being hopeful of doing different things. Now for the last question, I'll first touch on academics. I would say I thought everyone does this, but don't joke around with your academics, because just because I feel like in an international student, sometimes people in their first year, it's really vibes. And no, like be serious with your academics, find a career academic advice and actually utilize them. That's something I thought people were doing, but no. SMU has great academic advisors, not all of them, but they're there. So utilize them. They're needed. They really help you with planning your courses and planning your degree. So really utilize them and befriend your academic calendar. Like I knew from my first year of uni, even though I didn't know my major and my minor, like courses I had to do. So I would really say, please, like do this and do it early. And then I would also say, I think Karen touched on this, but yeah, don't be afraid to network early and keep contact. And I don't just mean this from like going to career fairs. I found my job through a career fair scheme, but not just going to the career fairs and volunteer fairs, but also like just being a student, your projects you do, being in class, that's also a space for networking. I've met people even outside now, being an employee, like negotiating, like talking to them, because I met them at a class in SMU, and then now it's like we're friends here and we're continuing. Like, so I just feel like you're building networks everywhere is what I'm trying to say. It's not just the professional career fair. Being a student in your class, you're actually building a network. And these other students that you're laughing with, you're helping each other in class, is also showing your net worth. So yeah, start early. And then just again with academics, don't be afraid to be yourself. University is a learning space, but there's more you can appreciate and accept your passions, and doing that earlier, and recognizing it so that you can capitalize on the space earlier. So like I said, I've always been good in literature. Actually, I knew about this from A-level, but I saw this more about myself in first year. Didn't really have to struggle with the course. I like easily was passing. From that, I was already writing poems, but I didn't realize it was a thing until now. So I feel like if I recognized that it was an avenue for growth earlier, I could have maybe created a blog earlier and it could have been a pathway for monetization way earlier. So that's just what I mean by that. And then, go to career fairs. SNU has resume and cover letter building, like the workshops. You can sign up for like one-on-ones with a career counselor, and they're called coaches that actually help you with the resumes. I've been utilizing that since my second year of uni. Thought everyone does, but it's actually not a lot of people know about this. So I would say utilize these services in SNU, and then seek to learn from others. Right now, I'm really thankful for my job. I don't love my job, but I'm thankful for the place I'm in because I genuinely can just talk to my boss about like career avenues and everything, but I couldn't do that in my previous job, the one that I was not happy in. My boss didn't care. That woman just didn't care. So I would say like now, you can actually just learn from your boss in careers, even with just relationship, work-life balance. I learned a lot from her. Career counselors in SMU, or the university that you're going to, and then just like the different spaces that you are just kind of constantly being present in recognizing like different career journeys. So yeah, it's a mouthful, but yeah, that's my point.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I feel like I don't have much to add because all the advice they're giving is so good, but thank you, Abba and Tracy.
Everything they've said is definitely great. The only thing that I'll add is leaning into the power of pivoting. So the only reason why I say that is because when I came to Canada, like I wanted to be a coding geek who's going to work in the FBI. Like I genuinely had my life set out to be a profiler if you watch Red Blacklist, but I had set on myself to be a computer science person. And I did my computer science course and I failed it, and I did not fail it. I looked at myself and I did not fail it because I wasn't reading. No, I was reading. I was staying in the library still, like, very late. I was going to the TAs. I was going to the practice. But I realized maybe this isn't it. But when I think about the time, if I had just only concentrated and not been open to where I am, because I did not even know lobbying existed, government relations, all these things, I would not have been able to pivot. It's not that it's an easy thing, but I think sometimes it's something that you learn about yourself. How do you know that you've given this thing your best? How do you know that you've given this position, this course, this major? Because sometimes your new and best life and where you might thrive might be in this other side that you might not have thought about. And we've seen that, being in the stories that everyone has been talking. So sometimes pivoting is not bad when you feel like you've really given this thing your best, and then you're like, what else can I do that I might find my passion in? So that's one thing that I just need to always bring up, because you just never know, and allow yourself to experience something else. That's kind of part of being open-minded and trying something new. So just remember to try, because you'll genuinely never know until you've tried something, and you also never know what blessings are waiting for you in that new thing that you might try. So that's all I'll say.
Thank you. Very true to what everyone has been sharing. Remembering your path isn't always linear, and being ready to pivot no matter what, and standing firm in that change. And who knows, you can still join the FBI. And Shaneika, you want to close us off, please?
Of course, Holly, I'll do the honors. I just want to tie everything that my amazing panelists have said. Like the stories on here are just phenomenal. Shout out to Coach K. I'll be sending you an email bright and early tomorrow morning. Gotta get it together. But I'll leave with this. One of the things that my mentor, like before I came to Canada, my mentor in Jamaica, and she has held my hand. Now that I'm here, she's drilled into my mind that I have to show up as the person that I want to be. That's one thing that I want to leave with everybody here today is before, I became the face of whatever Holly said I'm the face of, I was showing up these things. I was showing up as a professional. I didn't know, like Tracy said, I didn't know anything. I was new, but I kept showing up nonetheless. And I feel like that in and of itself is one of the reasons why um, I'm where I'm at today. I don't think I'm halfway in my journey, but I definitely can say that compared to where I'm coming from, I've certainly accomplished a lot in the short span of time that I've been here. Um, and then another thing that I'd like to say is, whatever it is that you're doing, any form of success that you're aiming towards, it does require some form of investment, whether that's investment of your time. Like I know for myself, there's been a lot of times where I get home at like midnight because I was at an event, I was moving from places to places that I always try to stretch myself to show my face. And I feel like that became a brand in and of itself. Once I felt as if, I've built up enough presence, I started zooming in on creating, just like a brand for my own self, like what I wanted to be known for. When people say, because it's more than just knowing Shaneika. What do you know Shaneika for? That's kind of where I'm at and in my life right now, where I'm kind of more focused on branding. And then the last thing is success looks different for everybody. And I feel like the diverse discussion that we've heard here today, we're all females, we're all Black. Most of us would have experienced that international waters from what I'm hearing from the panelists, but our success looks completely different and we're all successful. So I just want to say, to everyone that's here tonight, whatever you take away from this, just take away, show up as exactly who you want to be seen as, whether that's an entrepreneur, whether, that's somebody that's good in medicine, whatever it is that you want to be perceived to be, show up as that person. And just remember, success doesn't have one look. It can look like anything you want it to look like.
Thank you so much, and thank you everybody. You can unmute, you can clap. This has been an amazing discussion, and I appreciate all the panelists so much. Yeah, this is the essence of everything we want this program to be, and just hearing all these stories, like Shaneika said, this is success, and this success looks like 6 different things. So who's to say your story isn't going to be added to this amazing group? Because, Black women in excellence, we are excellent, and we can do all the things that we want to go for. So I really appreciate everybody for being here. Thank you so much. To our attendees, if you have any questions, I will let you ask them. We can give it about 5 or so minutes. You can ask whoever you'd like, but I'd just like to say thank you once again. And thank you for also inspiring us in paving the way for the future generation of international students. Each one of you stand here as a testament and a testimony to me personally for the stories I've gotten to see, Shaneika, who I'm getting to watch. It's a pleasure to know all of you. It's a pleasure to watch all of you, and I can't wait to see where you go. So thank you so much. And yeah, the floor is open to anyone now.
I just want to say, Karen, if you want a different sister from Krystal, I'm volunteering. I want to, I want to have access. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so honored. So sweet. I'm recruiting. I'm recruiting.
Noted.
If you see
I
that,
have a question. Sorry.
No, if I added you on LinkedIn, I promise I'm not being weird.
Yeah, guys.
No, we
inspirational.
Let's
I wanted to ask Karen, how did you make your hands black? Her applause hands are black. How did you make them black?
Oh, my hands? That's a good question. I don't think I did anything. Let's see. I don't think I did anything to make my hands black.
I have a question. Krystal and Karen, who's older?
I'm older.
You're older. Okay, I was gonna say like if it's the vice versa, I'm so sorry, but like you sound older. You sound older. Did your parents have like the K, like, the name?
We have
Like,
another sister called Kaylor with a K.
okay, I love that because I'm Team J. Love that a lot. I had one question for Karen specifically. You talked about how failure has allowed you to refocus your attention on something that you're good at. But at times we are told how if you fail, like just try again. So how can you, navigate in that aspect? Because whenever I fail something, I'm like, you know what, that's just trial one. Let me go to trial two. But you mentioned how like failure was like, you know what, I'm gonna go for something that I'm good at and like try to direct my attention in that kind of aspect.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'll get to that, but I figured out how I changed my hands. So the side on the chat, there's an emoji button. So when you click that smiley, all the emojis pop up. On the bottom, it says skin tone. Do you see skin tone?
Zoom etiquette.
Skin tone at the bottom right. When you click the emoji in the chat. There you go. Okay, so that's how I found that. So in terms of failure, I think there's definitely a fine balance. Like with some things, if you try one time and you fail, like that's that. Like you should know when to cut your losses, and when you need to try again. I would say it's varied for different things in my life. Like there's been things where, for example, I tried photography as a hobby. I started a whole page. I was doing this. I was trying to make it a business. And it got to a point where I wasn't enjoying the experience of, I started from an artist perspective. I enjoyed capturing things, but photographing people specifically, the business side of it and matching people's expectations of the outcomes that they wanted their photos to look like didn't work out for me. I didn't enjoy that experience. And so it got to a point where I said, you know what, I've tried this. I've given it a couple of runs. I've tried it in Uganda. I'm from Uganda. I've tried it in Uganda. I've tried it in Canada. I don't think I'm quite enjoying this. I think I'm going to leave this to the side. But what I mean by allows you to focus on other things, it gave me some time back, but also photography is a skill that you can't take away from me. While I don't do it actively as a business, it's a skill that I take with me and use in my daily life, in my workplace. My editing skills still go with me. I make captivating presentations and things because of that skill. So it's taken me places, even though I don't use it on a day-to-day. So I allowed myself the grace to say, you know what, I don't quite enjoy this. I don't like the effort, the time that it takes to do this. I'll focus my attention on doing other things. So that's what I mean by like allowing yourself to say, okay, you know what, I think I'll press pause on this, but no skill is a waste. No opportunity is a waste. You will always, no one can take anything that you've learned away from you. It will always be valuable at some point in one shape or the other. And don't let anyone shame you when you don't do something anymore, or you tried something, you started, you stopped. Yeah, I tried it. I learned a lot from it, and it's not something I'm actively pursuing anymore. That's it. That's the response.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. That's it from me.
Thank you. And thank you everybody in the chat for
There's a
staying.
question in the chat about your program.
Yes, that is what I was getting to next. So our program is yet to be launched, but if you want to leave your email below in the chat, I'll take it down and definitely let you know. And keep you posted. Please follow all our social media, Black Women in Excellence, and you'll see more. But this is just the beginning and just to get the conversation started. Thank you, Rachel, for tuning in from Uganda. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Shout out to Rachel. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Rumi says, oh, you can catch that.
Yeah, you can read it.
Oh, she says, I have a question about networking. I do not know how to small talk, which I think is important when networking. I feel like somebody that has gone to a lot of these,
Yeah.
like a lot.
I can answer the networking part. So when it comes to like networking, I think one of the things that you talked about was that small talk. So the 30-second pitch that I talked about is usually a way to start to kind of prevent that small talk. So one time whenever you're going to a conference or you're going to a networking session, what's your intention behind that networking session? So that would be the first step. Are you going there to meet new people? Are you going there to look for like, you know that maybe there's someone specific you're going to meet? Are you going to find future maybe job employers, things like that? So depending on your target, have your 3 questions or 3 things that you're going to talk about. So even if it's like about the job, are you going to ask about their day-to-day? Are you going to ask about a project? So preparing yourself helps you prevent that small talk, or helps you prevent those. I know sometimes people can be worried about that awkward silence. So I would say one of the ways in removing that small talk, you would prepare yourself in that 30 pitch. And if there's more that you need, like definitely feel free to connect on LinkedIn. If there's one thing I love doing is one thing that my friends will tell you is teaching them how to network, because I really love being that bridge and helping people connect in that terms. But talk about yourself. What do you want to do? Even if you're a student, as Karen said, you have something to offer. Let's say you've decided, let me give it in forms of like a student. Hi, my name is Tracy. I am Krystal, I think your thing is unmuted just in case. Okay, perfect. If you're a student, let's say my name is Tracy. I'm a 3rd-year student in psychology. I am really passionate about mental health disorders and how to really break the stigma for the community. I'm hoping one day, maybe if you're interested in therapy, I'm hoping to become a therapist. I've seen that your page, you're into projects around mental health. So you've already prepared yourself before. So that helps you ease the tension for yourself. And feeling prepared is honestly what has helped me with like small talk, honestly, because I also know the best one that is. So hopefully that.
I feel like one thing I can add to that as well is it helps to go with a friend. So my business partner and I, we started off going to a lot of networking events. And having that small talk helps, but it's very draining. I feel like that's one part of it that people don't talk about. Because to me, you know, Canadians operate in very high social energy. Like they're always on a high. Sometimes they don't calm down, like Black people, sometimes we can all be in a room, and we're socializing, and then for just 5 minutes, everybody just goes silent and we know everybody's okay. But that's just us kind of building up our energy again. They're always on a high. So I think it helps going with a friend. Whenever my friend and I, we go to networking events, it's always back and forth. So we scout the rooms. These days it's kind of more with a lot more intention. So we scout the room. And if we pick persons who we want to go to talk to, and sometimes I'll lead the discussion so he gets a break, and sometimes he'll lead the conversation so that I get a break. You know what I mean? Like having that kind of partnership there in those kind of rooms kind of helps take the pressure off of you continuously going up, saying the same thing over and over again.
You both said it perfectly, and I like that Tracy actually gave like an example of how an elevator pitch is. I think it's both just key advice. I just wanted to add, I realize that not everyone here is in Canada, but I just want to say, like, if you're here, really do check the resources in your university, because a lot of these universities, like if it's resume and cover letter, like they can also help you create your elevator pitch. I learned about elevator pitching last year through the Inc. program at SME. I just keep hyping up that program because I really learned a lot about how to go in and like pitch yourself in networking through that program. So just check for these type of resources in university. They help build. But you guys would say it perfectly.
Yeah, just kind of filling in for my coworker while she steps away. But yeah, for me, go with a friend. It definitely helps because it's high energy. I feel like that was also a very cultural shock that I had coming here. The way the social energy is always on a high. It's always, hi, how are you? Like it's just so high. And I cannot operate on that high level of social energy for a long period of time. Like me, I get very drained. So it helps having that person. So I give 50, that person gives 50, and then collectively it's always 100%. Yeah. And then just waiting on Holly to get back. If you guys have any other questions, Fiona says, how would you overcome burnt out as an international student when you're extremely busy navigating two jobs and school? You need them. I guess Abba had mentioned navigating different jobs during school. I'm in Vancouver. There's a narrative that mental health is is a luxury. And then so I guess that question is kind of directed to Abba there. And then the second part of her question goes to Karen that says, does the program include for master students as well?
So for the first part, I'm not gonna lie, like I was burnt, and that's what I'm saying. I feel like I really attained that culture of resilience and enduring because I was really kind of operating burnt out. But I would say I was utilizing therapy. I'm really pushing it because I know that's one key thing that was helping me. Therapy, faith, like speaking to God, just crying to Him, but also therapy, having a physical person that I was just going to like confide in and say that like I need peace, like my head is not okay. So I'm someone who pushes for therapy all the time. I would say in the process, I would, apart from those two, yes, it's a lot, but planning and time management does really help. And I feel like these are skills that were built through that process. Because like I really became more like knowing where I need to go, which job I need to go to, and where I'm going. So yeah, it's not the best answer because I do know that like when you're burnt out, you're really burnt out. I would say yeah, just that, and maybe another thing is maybe when you do have to do both the jobs, but trying to adjust to whatever job. So like for instance, there were times where yes, I was working at night, but I wasn't doing consistently. I would give up my shifts a bit at one job. I would never the other job, but just trying to plan it a bit just so that when you are really burnt out, you do have some moments of rest. I wasn't getting the most rest during that period, but I would adjust a bit accordingly. Your body, you know when you're really at that low. And at that point, I would always like, yes, I'd give up my shift for one job or I'd book like a session with my therapist and stuff like that. But yeah.
I guess kind of just pitching in my 2 cents before Karen answers her part is, as somebody that like worked 2 to 3 jobs myself, also did student leadership, plus I did 5 courses. Burn, like it's a real thing. Therapy, it definitely helps. I feel like there was a point in time where I was so tired, and it wasn't until I started, utilizing the counselors that SMU offered that I was able to confide in this person to say, "Oh, I'm tired," and just being able to take that mental weight off of my head or everything that was kind of going through my mind. Because yes, I was doing all these jobs and I was showing up to these networking events, but there were things that were going on in my head as well, trying to plan for my future, and that's kind of a lot. So having someone there that's a professional to help me navigate that journey. Um, and then one of the things that I believe was very instrumental during that point is the fact that she stretched. She did stress me saying no. So even though you're working these two jobs and you're showing up in these spaces because you have to, like, girl, I get it. The bills have to be paid, especially if you're coming here and you're supporting your own self. You feel as if you have no choice. But some of the times you have to say no, just to take some time for yourself and to rest and to recuperate. And one of the things that I learned from that is just because I said no doesn't mean I missed out on something. Yeah. Karen.
Yeah, just really quickly, the Black Girls Gather program does take master's students as well. So you're welcome to apply. I'm happy to follow up with an email more on their programming, but let's also look out for the Black Women in Excellence program as well. I'm sure it will be an equally strong program.
I just wanted to add one more thing again. Guys, I'm sorry, I just my brain processing. I did want to say just your company you keep also is something when it comes to burnout. The people who I was working with were also very crazily competitive for no reason. Like it shouldn't be, oh, I did 40 hours this week. I also did 40, like, like the people you're around is also something that's like you do have to do these jobs, but if there's people who are feeding in that like you need to do more when you know that you're burnt out or fatigued, that also affects your mental. So I would also say, and that's one thing I do like about I learned from my second year of just learning to kind of keep your space, self-care, that alone time with yourself to recognize really and reflect on how you're feeling. And just the company you keep also influences this period of time when you're doing all this work. And also I'll just add that like it's not forever. And I think that's another thing that was helping me. From then, I was telling myself it's not forever. So you're just doing the work and you're enduring, but it will get better.
Mhm. Mhm. I think we'll just take a couple more. Maybe if all the speakers want to drop their either Instagram, LinkedIn, or email in the chat, just in case, just for the sake of time. And I know people have been here for a bit of time, but I guess we can answer this last question. What role has community and sisterhood played in your journey abroad? And how do you foster these connections to support your success and well-being in a new environment?
Sorry, I was gonna add to the previous question by saying try to surround yourself with people who will positively pour into you. So try to surround yourself with people who are also very relatable, especially as an international student. Not saying only limit yourself to international friends, but you want to have that community because they can understand many of the struggles that we face as international students. Your domestic friends won't get it. Your I guess friends that are in a different program, like for me who did sciences, we have 8 classes per semester, while other programs might have 5 because we have labs. So you want to have that circle that can pour into you, who will be able to understand what you're going through, and you can like feed off each other's like insights and energy and experiences. That is very, very important. I just wanted to add that small piece.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I guess it ties in perfectly with the role of community and sisterhood. In one way or another, a lot of these people, I don't live in Halifax anymore, but I lived there for a long time, and it's important to have your community. Each one of these people I've met at a different time in my life. Riana was one of my first pod mates and my first year on residence. Abba, I also met her at school on residence. Tracy, we met online but had mutual friends. Krystal was the first person I knew here, and her and Karen were like my sisters in Halifax. And Shaneika I've met before. And all this to say, it's the thing that keeps you afloat. And I think that's in one way or another what everyone here has shared. And these connections, they help maybe these people share with you about job postings. I used to see Shaneika post about her workplace, and that's how I found out about BWIE. Karen shared about the Black Girls Gather program before, all those different things where you see from people who you know, it really does help lead to your success, and it's important. And I guess that's where the name came from. It's this sisterhood that helps us get to where we need to be. And with that, I think I am going to close today's session. Really appreciate you all. Thank you, everyone, from Rachel in Uganda, who is still here at 2 a.m., and everybody else who has sat and listened, and all our panelists. Thank you so much. Please stay tuned for everything that we are going to share about the program to come. And yeah, Have a lovely evening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye, Holly.
Bye. Thank you so much.